Oof, my hair.
You want some of mine?
I do need some of yours.
It is
dude.
real.
What's your secret?
There's my good genes. My parents, my mom's never colored her hair at 82 years old, and I got her genes. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages. He walks, he talks. He's here with us in the studio. The High-Tech Texan, not to be confused as a love expert.
or the Low-Tech Texan, which, by the way, I trademarked that too. Don't kid yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Garfield.
It's great to be here. Good to see you, my
Thanks
man.
for doing this. I was just listening to one of your episodes on, it was where you start talking about Spotify and the new Spotify rap and all that kind of stuff. And I had a ton of fun, man. How long have you been in the media space?
The media space let's see, we'll go officially. Well, you know what?
Were you like a kid monkeying with stuff?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's not with the tech stuff. I've always wanted to be in media, but when I grew up, the tech stuff came in because my dad is an electrical engineer. So one of the brilliant guys who tinkered with everything. And I watched him as a kid literally build televisions. He built our TV sets,
Wow.
the reel-to-reel tape and everything, fixed the cars, total anything you could do. And I took a lot of that away, just typical, man, I can, fix anything. I knew how to do some of this stuff, but what I wanted to do, I've always wanted, was fixated with TV and radio. I grew up literally watching 14 hours of TV a day. I was the original latchkey kid before there was such a thing called the latchkey kid. I would come home and I wanted to be either behind the mic, in front of the TV. And so at the end of the day, fast forwarding, I found the need back in the .com era, about 2000 when the .coms went crazy.
Yep.
There was so much information coming out to left and right. No one, these companies were valued at billions of dollars and everything was .com. Someone needed to be in the media, I think, to explain things very simply using analogies without using megabytes and gigabytes. And I found that space in Houston on Channel 2, believe it or not. And I was on Channel 2. They hired me in the morning and I would come on and I literally had to explain what Wi-Fi was. This is going back in the day to 2000, 2001. And that's right before digital TV and high def TV. I hit it at the right time, the right place, the right thing. I did not have a white paper for what I was supposed to do. And I just ran through a brick wall, and I trademarked the name, the High-Tech Texan, because I'm a marketing guy. You need some shtick, kind of like Tony Tiger or Toucan Sam. And since then, iHeartRadio, which was called Clear Channel Radio back then, picked me up. They put me on all 8 of the radio stations in Houston, and here I am 24 years later, still have my hair, and I now do television. I'm on, it's kind of syndicated TV segments in Austin, in Dallas, and San Antonio. My radio is on iHeartRadio show around the world on the iHeartRadio app, and just do a lot of events. But this is my passion. I mean, I fake nothing. I love products and gadgets and cars, and I can explain why they're great. I can explain why some of them suck. And my job is to be that consumer-friendly guy for these purchases. And people call me up, they'll approach me and they say, is this better, is this not? And it's my job is to test them and have some fun and pimp the stuff I like. And it's the history. There you go.
And was that like, that just sort of came to you, this niche in the media space, right? I mean, it wasn't, as a kid, were you like, I think I want to do consumer review type stuff?
No, I didn't. I really didn't want to be maybe it was a TV news anchor at some point. I never wanted to be really the reporter. I didn't want to go out to the wars and do death things. And then when I studied, I went to the University of Texas in Austin. Very proud to say that. I graduated with a radio, television, and film degree, not a journalism degree.
Okay.
Journalism was when you really went into the news business and reporters. And I think I realized back then, and again, I'm talking late 80s back at that point, and if you wanted to take that route, to get into the news, you had to go to the smallest city, the smallest market around the country. I'm talking, with all due respect, Jonesboro, Arkansas, or a lot of my buddies, started in, Beaumont or something. And they started a little affiliate and they made nothing. And, they worked there, whatever, I don't mind hard work, but I just didn't want to take that route. And so, I kind of fell into a few other, industries. I have a massive love of sports. Believe it or not, I got into sports marketing, and I worked for a massive major sports marketing company that represented athletes, including Michael Jordan himself back in the early 90s.
Cool.
But I kind of fell back into it. My first real media job was on QVC, the Home Shopping Network. I was the youngest person ever to be hired as a show host on TV. I was 22, right out of college. To be on TV. And so it was based right outside of Philadelphia. First time really I've ever moved out of Texas. They put me on at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, 5 a.m. as the young guy. And I was selling schlock all the time. But I think that was the key change in my life, because when you're selling, an inanimate object, I'm selling salt and pepper shakers, I'm selling Black & Decker tools to a TV camera.
Yeah.
You have to come up with adjectives. You have to come up with the stories
Yes.
of why this product is going to change your life. And that gave me that optimist. I am the eternal
You are,
optimist.
man. You really are.
I make Annie look like a pessimist. The sun was always going to come. And so that taught me a lot of life lessons, which my job, one of the things that I love talking to kids, college kids, high school kids, raised my 3 boys of, how to, look at life very positive, and go after your passion and have fun, be kind, network, and whatever. And those are the things that I've learned over the years.
And you seem to do really well, like in the live.
I love live.
You love live, like you love
and
just
that takes
making it up on the fly.
So I remember, live versus recorded, a few things. Like what we're doing right now is recorded. A lot of people can record because you can, if you screw up, cut, paste, rewind the whole thing. Live, it is this energy. It's like, I'm also a marathon runner. It's the same thing. You got your endorphins going because there is no screw ups. It is live TV. And I remember, starting on live TV on QVC. I mean, I was, it was, almost like Broadcast News, which was a famous movie from the 80s. I mean, I'm having sweat fits. I'm freaking out. Obviously, God forbid, you can't cuss. You can't do anything because it is. And then over the years, you just become used to it. And, you start, doing things on stage. I love doing MC things. And the reason I get hired,
you're really good at
I
that.
get hired a lot from companies, corporations, either speaking engagements for MCs, because they like working with people who've done things live, especially radio folks.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't need a teleprompter. And I love all my folks who are TV anchors, but generally they're working off a teleprompter. If you're emceeing a live event, you never know what can go wrong. I mean, you've got to stretch sometimes. Somebody doesn't show up, the lights go off, the microphone, so you got to fill. And as a radio host for 25 years, my job is to talk to a wall for 2 hours and, and keep the calls coming. So my job is to fill, with that BS and having some fun and keeping, people done. So, but live is, it's exhilarating. I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, you're really good at it too.
Well, thank you.
So do you do when you say MC events, like fundraisers or?
I do a lot of fundraisers. I'm not an auctioneer.
Okay.
I leave that to the professionals. But what I do, my job is to keep things on time. I live by the clock. I live by the second hand. And so when you're doing live radio, which again, I've done on my iHeartRadio show, I mean, on Saturday mornings, certainly in the Central Time Zone, I mean, that microphone comes on at 11:01 in 10 seconds.
We're here with Michael Garfield at the top of the hour.
I like that. You have to say brought to you by.
Brought to you by
Elite.
Elite.
Exactly. Yeah, you see, sponsors. We'll talk about sponsors at some point. No, but I live by that time and clock. So when it comes to the events, my first question is what time you want it to start? What time do you want to get people out of there? And my job is to keep that agenda on time. I'm like that timekeeper because, time is valuable to everybody and we don't want to keep them too late.
Did you ever consider acting or stand-up comedy or anything like that?
Not stand-up comedy. Acting, yes. And I have done some acting.
Yeah.
I've been on General Hospital. I did a 3-episode stint about 10 years ago in General Hospital.
10 years ago. Wow.
Actually, it was 14 years ago.
14 years ago.
14 years ago, I happened to be out in California, and without getting the whole thing, I met an agent who represents a lot of actors, and he represented somebody who was going to be on General Hospital, and I literally grew up watching General Hospital.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And so he took me to the General Hospital studio and set because he was negotiating a deal. And this was just total. It was like a brother-in-law, like entourage of anything. I was like Johnny Drama, the brother. He was negotiating this guy's deal to get on General Hospital, and I'm just sitting there watching like a kid in awe. And he goes, "Okay, so we're going to get this guy. He's going to come in. You're going to get him for 3 days. You're going to pay this much. And you see this guy here next to me? He's pointing at me. He goes, I want you to write a role for him because I represent him too." And the producer's like, "Okay."
No way, dude.
Got me on a 3-episode arc, and I was killed, by the way, on General Hospital, but it was phenomenal. So, but it's on YouTube, and so I can show my grandkids one day if and when I have some. It's like, yeah, that was on GH, and I did a lot of commercials. That's really my personality too. I'm not acting. Because I do a lot of TV commercials as Michael Garfield where I'm endorsing things.
Sure.
But it's the camera stuff. So, I get put a little makeup and luckily I got the hair and I guess it works.
You got the hair, you got the good BS, you can roll with it. No coffee for you.
No. Coke Zero is my only thing.
You were born with high caffeine, man. You were ready to...
I have never had a sip of coffee in my life.
Really?
True story.
I just started a couple years ago. I'm thinking about quitting. I don't know,
Hey, whatever, you want something. I don't mind caffeine. I like iced tea, a Coke Zero, but I didn't want to get into the whole coffee thing, and so I avoid it. Which sucks because if Starbucks wanted an endorsement from me, I'd have to say no because
Well, they got tea. You can
I
drink
can
their
do tea. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, but I do, and our job in media, certainly radio, is to endorse products, and as God is my witness, I will not talk about or promote or get paid for a product unless I literally use it and love it, and that is true. If a coffee comes and say, "Hey, Michael, we want you to talk about this coffee," I'm like, I don't drink coffee. I cannot promote it. I mean, I don't have any pets. I can't do any pets. I mean, that's my life. I believe in what I talk about.
You know, what really bothers me is when I watch a podcast, it might be like a health and fitness podcast, and they're like, sponsored by Rick's Vape Shop, and I'm just like, come on, bro. You can't be taking the money from some sponsor that's anti what you do.
It's exactly right. And
you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, because what we have, at least in my job, it's that trust and credibility.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I can't talk about Coke while I also talk about Pepsi if it's a sponsor thing. I review a lot of cars. I'm not going to, if Ford is going to pay me to endorse this car, and again, I love all these cars and I do drive them a lot. If I'm getting paid by Ford, I'm not going to also take money from Ram or GM or anything like that. So I'm true. You stick with one in the category, but you have to believe it. These small companies who work with me, mom and pops, who they scrape money for advertising. I want to know their history, but the thing is, I'm serious. I want to help them grow. I'm going to have the owner's number, and when I say, my buddy Frost, and if you want to train, I said, I have his phone number. And what I would do if one of my callers calls up, you really know Frost Murphy? I said, absolutely. Here's his number. Go in. I will text him and just say you're a listener of mine. My job is to be, part of marketing and cart in a networker type of thing.
So do you consider yourself a connector?
I'm a connector and a networker, a marketer. I got a long business card if I had to print them all out.
Right. Mm-hmm. But just, you like people, you like being around people, high energy.
I do. I love my alone time too. I kind of call myself an introverted extrovert.
Yeah, I get that.
It's really, because when I get home, boy, I'll tell you what, there's just football or something on, or I just get me on the couch. I'll exercise, but sometimes I have to shut up because I talk for a living. I smile for a living. Can you just leave me alone, people?
It's like getting your steps in. You get your words in at work,
True.
And then when you get home, you've met your quota for the day.
That's right.
So, I was listening to your show, and you test drive a new car like almost every week?
Every single week.
Every week?
For the past 15 years.
So you have like a new car every week?
New car. And it's interesting. So that's, of all the... I'm very honored and proud of what I've created, this brand I've created for 20 years. I get to do so much cool stuff. I mean, companies will fly me over here. I mean, listen, I've been to South Korea, Berlin, Amsterdam for debuts, and how the laptops work and the car manufacturers. I get to do a lot of stuff, but I think the number one thing there's two things that people freak out over. The coolest thing I've ever done. Number one, I get a new car every week, which I'll explain. But number two, I used to have a Chick-fil-A black VIP card.
Whoa.
The Chick-fil-A franchise.
Does that mean you can go on Sundays?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they gave me the key. But they stopped this. But for about the first 10 or 12 years, the Chick-fil-A franchisees in Houston, I love this story, it was brilliant. They went to the media. They made about 50 or 60 of these credit card looking things only for the Houston area, which is fine because I live in Houston. I can go to any single Chick-fil-A at any time that they're open, and I can get anything I want, no questions asked. And my kids grew up in this period like that. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was
Chick-fil-A every night for dinner. Let's go, guys.
I would pick my kids up at school. I know exactly their order they were waiting. It was freaking phenomenal. And sadly, they stopped that. That was a fun perk. But the vehicle thing is great. I'm a member, and that started. I'm a member of what's called the Texas Auto Writers Association. And there's probably 40 or so writers. And it started out as writing. So when you read, Car and Driver back in the day, it's still, I think, Sunday Houston Chronicle, Dallas Morning News, there's a car review. And those writers, they have to get the car somewhere. And so the auto manufacturers, not dealers, so it's the manufacturers, mostly out of Michigan, obviously, they would have a service. They have a third-party company that they would deliver the writers on a regular basis these test cars, and they let us have it for 1 week, and it's their gas, their insurance, and that we could do anything we want. That we're supposed to put it through the hoops. They want us to take us off road if it's a truck, or what's the range if it's an electric vehicle. And so for 15 years, every single Thursday, I got a company that drives down from Dallas. They deliver me a car. They switch the car. They go back and forth back. I don't even own my own car. And so I test drive, but again, it's up to them, these manufacturers. And so it's most of the major manufacturers, everything from, again, GM to Ford to Chevy to Ram to Jeep and all this stuff. So I don't know generally what's coming on a Thursday. So I get trucks, I get SUVs, I get sports cars. As I said, I got to go through the crappy ones to get to the high-end Mercedes, the BMW ones too. So, I mean, I've tested $250,000, Mercedes, G-Wagons, but I've also, tested $18,000, Kia, little tiny, two-seater type of thing.
Yeah.
But it gives me perspective because my listeners or people who listen to the podcast or certainly my radio show, they'll come up to me as, so I just got married and we're going to, at some point in the next 3 years, we're going to have a kid. What would you recommend?
Yeah.
Versus the 60-year-old person who's now the kids are gone. He wants a hot sports car for his midlife crisis. I've seen everything around, so I can actually, determine what's best for you. Somebody wants a big SUV to schlep their kids around. They want the 8-seater versus the 6-seater. So it's fun getting that content. It's really what it is. So these manufacturers, and none of this is sponsored. That's not sponsored. So I can rag on them.
Yeah.
Or I can give them all the love. And again, that's going back to the honesty and integrity of what I have.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found it like a niche? I love sports cars. I love SUVs. I love big trucks. Or are you just kind of...
Well, it's changed. I mean, again, I've done this, let's say 20 years. 20 years ago, I had 3 boys and the kids were relatively young. So yeah, minivans were the way to go back in the day. Now my boys, they're in the 20s and the young, all the way up to 31. They're gone. So it's just me right now. I love sports cars. I don't need to take kids to soccer games, ballerina games, or anything. And so I'm a Corvette dude. I've long been a Corvette dude. I think they are the sexiest cars without going nuts with the Ferraris and everything. And the newer model, the C8, the mid-engine car, it is just so freaking awesome. And so that's, if I had the ultimate car, I'd go out and get a Vet. But
dude, I was listening to your show this morning. And does your intro, dun, in my car, dun, dun,
that's it.
Dun,
It's
dun,
cars.
dun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's been stuck in my head all morning.
Yeah, that was the Fear Factory is the version who did. But Gary Newman, 1979, he had a song called Cars.
Yeah,
it's Cars. And then I think we used the one from Fear Factory. Yeah, but it's funny you talk about that because music is probably one of the top 2 or 3 of the most important things in my life. It's music, and I pick all the bump music that I play.
Interesting.
And I use it. We call bump music going in and out of commercials.
It's really good too. I was noticing. I was like, "Ooh, that's sharp."
Yeah, and again, sadly, over the past, when I started out years and years ago, we had the licensed, Clear Channel, the world's largest owner of radio stations. Now iHeart, we own 850 radio stations. So we have the license to play almost any song. Podcast, we don't have a license. And so my show is then repeated on podcast. So I can't use a lot of my songs that I want because cheap iHeart. I love you, iHeart. But anyway, they don't have the radio. But whatever I'm talking about, I know so much history of pop music. I could, whisper into my, I hit a button, I could whisper in my producer's ear, like, okay, I'm talking about this topic. I want you to play this song because it's kind of a fun innuendo type of thing. But music puts people in a mood, but music to me is one of, if not the only thing, that if you hear a song and you close your eyes, it's one of the only things in the world that will ever take you back to where you were when.
Totally.
Go back to high school. I mean, I'm an 80s guy. I was in high school in the 80s. I know there's no way anybody could beat me in any trivia about the 80s music. I know what number it peaked at, who was the background artist,
Wow.
I was Casey Kasem, which you can hear the voice.
I can't, dude. It is
Casey
pretty close.
Kasem was my hero, was the reason I got into this. I listened to the Countdown Top 40. I wrote down everything. I'm the biggest loser nerd geek when it comes to anything 80s, and certainly TV shows and, from everything from Miami Vice. And that's when MTV started, which is visual. And that's why I'm so into pop culture. I was just the consumer, the kid back in the day that I still carry it on, and that's why I'm never going to grow up. I'm always going to be that 80s, the kid who's still living in the 80s.
Timeless, man.
I'm trying to. You see the hair? I still got the 80s, dude.
So, I mean, what's really cool, this information age, this tech revolution that we're going through, you're at the age where you can remember, or at least remember your parents talking about, black and white TV to color TV.
I had a black and white TV, right? But you're right. Mm-hmm.
And then fast forwarding into now, apps and podcasts and
that we
YouTube
don't need a TV because we watch it on our phone.
Right.
It's an interesting generation. I was born. I'm not going to say it's the right time. I was one of the first I'm a Gen X, but I made Gen X by about 34 days. I was one of the very first Gen X, and now there's millennials and Gen Alpha, whatever it is. But I remember the OGs. I remember growing up at a black and white TV. I was the remote control. My dad would say, "Get up and go change the channel." I'm serious. But technology and electronics and the way we do things just went nuts. Let's just say the late 90s with the advent of the smartphones and the BlackBerries, and certainly in 07 when the iPhone came around. There were my kids now. They grew up I didn't grow up with a computer, but my kids grew up with their computers. And now, my youngest is a very big sports influencer. I mean, he's got an agent right now that he does nothing. He can edit a video with his thumbs, within about 4.5 minutes that I'm picking up for them. So, my parents are, still around there in the 80s, and, they're pretty hip with it too. And so I'm the middle of that generation, the older one, the younger one, that I'm still trying to hang on there and be relevant.
What do you think's what direction are we headed, just with media in general? Are you seeing, do you view this sort of transition as a good thing? People have more access to it, or is it being disrupted, the space in general? Kind of what's happening?
Incredibly disrupted. And the sad part is, I get a lot of my friends who have their kids and they want to get into media. They want to get into radio.
Yeah.
And I hate saying this because this is all I've ever wanted to do. And I actually did it because I still am hanging in media. I don't know if I would recommend anybody getting into media right now, because the media that I grew up with, the traditional television and certainly newspaper, that's dead. That's
right.
old. It's not there. Radio, we like radio, but radio now is I'm not saying it's transitioning to podcast, but I think more and more people are listening to audio on demand, which is podcast.
Right.
My radio show airs Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., live callers. However, then it's put on the podcast. And so now people can listen to me anytime they want to.
Yeah.
So the point is that it's changed from when I studied it right now. And now the proliferation of all of these mergers. I mean, look what's happened. Netflix now is is trying to buy Warner Brothers and their entire catalog of everything from HBO all the way down to Sesame
You think
Street.
that'll go through?
That probably will go through, even though there's another hostile takeout. But it's neat because I do follow the business side of media because I've always found that intriguing.
Yeah.
But there's so many mergers right now, and there's so many that, the government is putting its thumb down on this. Less people are watching the TV nightly news. More people are consuming their information. I mean, my kids get their information on TikTok, which is sad because, let me go back, people, you should have a journalism degree.
Right.
I mean, to be able to, when I graduated in the 80s and then the early 90s, I mean, you're not on TV. You're not right for anything unless you have a Bachelor of Journalism. Nowadays, my son, who's 25, he is breaking news on sports more than Adam Schefter is. And it's like, I trust my son. That was a bad analogy, but do you trust all these people over here? These TikTok challenges, like if you drink this smoothie, it's going to make it. Why are we believing these people?
Right.
People believe anything they see right now. And I don't like that untrustworthiness. And so it kind of scares me.
Yeah, no doubt. And so what do you think do you think the future, do you think that it's just going to continue to be like, especially with this younger generation coming up? I mean, they are way more genetically gifted on tablets than like my kids came out of the womb knowing how to run a tablet.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I'm getting my daughter to help me edit something so I can post something on Instagram. What do you think is coming for this next generation?
Well, it's funny because if I could predict the future, I'd be retired and I'd own an island right now. I always say. So I can kind of see the trends because I hear trends. Companies will send me products. They'll give me press release of what's coming there. I think wearables right now, incredibly hot wearables. I mean, listen, so many of us have smartwatches right now. You wear it. So that's a wearable. Listen, if I wanted my blood pressure or glucose done back in the day, we'd have to go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we look at our wrist, we got my blood pressure, we can check our CO2, we can check all this other thing. That's fine. Glasses. Look at these, Meta Ray-Ban glasses. They've got cameras built in. They've got video cameras built in. We may not even need cell phones themselves one day. They're Bluetooth glasses. Back in the day, we used to walk around with the big jam box, the radio.
Right.
Now, we've got these little earbuds that we lose all the time. That are so small. So I love the way that sort of technology, has come. We look at televisions. I remember recommending when 2002, 2003, when the first set of the high def flat panels came in. My first one cost $15,000, and it was only a 50-inch TV. Okay. 50. Nowadays, you can get a 50-inch TV at Costco for $179 right now.
Nuts.
But then nowadays, we're not using it because now we're consuming so much TV on the phone right now. If I will take all my TV segments that I do and shoot in a real TV studio. I'll post on my web, but I'll send the link out to everybody's phone, text, and they're going to watch it right there on their phone too. Now, are we going to watch the 2-hour-long movies on the phone? No, we shouldn't do that. But, we're little, tidbits. We live in the 3-minute Instagram real world, and let's just keep moving on. So I think that trend's, I'm going to say sadly, just because I'm the old guy, but it's going to continue to move that way.
Do you think mainstream media is no longer mainstream?
I don't think it's mainstream. What I define mainstream media, I don't think it's mainstream. Mainstream media, when I grew up, I was in the broadcast sector.
ABC, NBC.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and thing. But then there was the written sector, which newspapers and magazines, that they're still hanging in there. The big ones, the New York, Post, the New York Times, the Washington, the Wall Street Journal, and whatever. Mainstream now, it's almost social. I mean, and you see the trend when it comes to even advertising and marketing. 25 years ago, there was no social media. So when I was on radio and I was on TV, that's how anybody had to advertise.
That's the only way to get.
Yeah. Now they're still using it to some extent, but they're mixing in social media. They're they're putting their 30-second commercials on the TikTok, on IG. They have their own social media producers and players. They're making their own commercials right now. So it continues to evolve.
So now they're calling it legacy media.
I guess we can call it legacy media, but I think the print legacy it's not dead and buried, but it's close. I mean, I used to love reading all my the columnists, from USA Today and even the Cron, Dallas Morning News. I still have my favorite sports writers. Again, I follow, but a lot of those. I mean, think about this. I live on ESPN. I watch ESPN, and a lot of the pundits, the reporters, they were former writers. I mean, look at Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon, who do, pardon the interruption, phenomenal writers from the Washington Post in the 80s and the 90s, but they made a phenomenal transition. Now they're broadcast media, and they do a podcast, they do radio, and they do TV. And so you have to continue to reformat and continue to, grow yourself and keep up with the times, which I'm trying to do. And a lot of other people in the media, are trying to hang on and do it too.
Right. And you see, it almost seems like when a media, whatever it's a newspaper or a show is starting to about to go out of business, that's when they sort of like, break their integrity or like throw some stuff out there that's they just like, we need attention. Let's just do. Is that sort of an accurate?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? The world's viral. If you don't go viral, man, no one's going to follow you right now. And so you just have to, it's shock. Remember Howard Stern was the original shock jock.
Yeah.
That was it was shock jock. And then, that's a generation in ago. Now, if it ain't viral, no one's going to follow you. And so sometimes, you look at Stephen A. Smith, and I'm trying not, again, I can continue to go because there's in the political realm also, but, he just says things. He is the highest paid personality at ESPN. He's got his own show, his own podcast on radio, just because he throws stuff out there, And so it's the virality of it.
Just like attention and, attention, interest, conviction, desire. You think everybody's just got to start with that attention. So they make bold statements and proclamations just to get some eyeballs on it.
But it causes controversy too. And I've never wanted to be that controversial because what I do now, I don't need to be controversial. It's compelling if you're certainly if in your politics. Which are you on the left side? You on the right side? We're going to tick somebody off. We're going to piss somebody off over here. And I'm not the piss offer type of person like that because I'm out there I'm a dude with a good personality who can entertain you, but also give you good information and steer you in the right directions. And what I'm trying to do is consumer lifestyle products and travel and recommendations or whatever.
You
so
seem to have,
I don't want to,
you seem to have an authentic desire to help connect people to things that are going to help them in life.
Versus, look at me in the spotlight right now. I need to say something that's so stupid, crazy, like, Apple, the iPhone's going to die next year and Android's going to take over. Now, I could say something like that, and somebody would run with it because I am in a.
You're in the space.
I am the space. I'm the authority. I have a voice, a player. I'm not going to do that though because it's going to be some people are going to laugh at me. But I just would rather be authentic and just help people.
Love that, man. Good for you. So what? Back to the car space a little bit. For fun, my wife and I went and test drove the Cybertruck.
Nice.
And it was just like a fun date. I recommend that for anybody. Like they'll just let you go take one for a spin.
That's a piece of work. That is a piece of work.
Right. Yeah. And punched in and went and picked up my mom at her house. And I was like, get in the back seat. And it drove us to her office. Like it drove us.
It drove it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that was my first experience in a car that I was in the driver's seat and not driving. Clearly you've messed with all that kind of stuff.
I've messed with that stuff. And, we're seeing right now, Waymo. You know, which is which is kind of a.
Are they coming to Houston? Are they here?
They're in Houston.
Oh, they're in Houston.
Yeah,
Okay.
but if you go to Austin, I go to Austin.
They're everywhere in Austin.
You can't spit. I mean, they're more ubiquitous than Starbucks. I mean, Waymos are everywhere, and certainly they're in California a lot too. They're getting some bad rap recently just because of, there was a software upgrade. And I mean, it's not like they get in wrecked, but they're driving places we're not supposed to be.
Did you see the one where they pulled in front of like the active shooting thing or whatever?
There was the cops had arrested the guy who was on the ground and they're pulling by.
Waymo's pulling up to let the passenger out.
I've been following that space for many years. And I remember the first time I've ever seen a self-driving car. It was in San Francisco where everything starts, in Palo Alto and all that other thing. I was driving, I was in the back of an Uber or a taxi many, many years ago, driving from San Francisco airport up north to San Francisco. And we're on the, 105 freeway, whatever it is. And I see this car next to me and it's driving and then there's nobody in it. They were testing it. They had radars, LiDARs, cameras and everything. And it's the freakiest, deakiest thing you've ever seen.
Right.
And even right now, if you've never seen a Waymo or a driverless car, you have to go.
You just
pause.
stare at it.
And my thought is this. The technology itself is there. The radars, LiDAR, which is another type of it, they've got camera systems. It does work, and it can work well. And I think slowly the reason why it has taken years and years and years to maybe take off, and it's still not here yet, it's not because of technology. It's because of people. Humans, we are not ready to adapt it yet. We are not used to seeing nobody in that driver's seat. We are scared. So we're finally putting the toe in the water. That is, to me, we have not adapted and fully adopted yet. And so it's not so much the technology. We need to start trusting in it.
It'll take another generation of kids that come out.
I mean, I think at this I certainly think give it another 5, 6, or 7 years. But the technology is only going to get better. The way that satellites and the mapping and the cross traffic. But it is here. But it's just people are scared. I mean, it took forever to let's get away from what's a cell phone versus cutting the the cord right now. It's just there is types of products that it's like. I'll try it, but I'm not ready for it yet. And I think that's one of the driving things.
I'm not a tech guy at all. Like I need help checking my email sometimes. So I'm not one that would naturally do well. I would struggle with an electronic vehicle. But I was telling my wife, like, we're both getting like night blind. We're like got old guy eyes now. We're like, when we drive at night, I'm like, can you see? I can't see what? It's like all the LED lights in the city. I just can't see very well. So I was like, oh, I think there would be value for me having a self-drive vehicle at night. Like if I'm cruising around Houston or on a trip or something.
And we talk about self-driving and we call it autonomous driving.
Yeah.
That's the extreme. We go from us behind the wheel to the autonomous. And there's middle ground. And people ask, why are you reviewing? You're a tech guy. Why are you reviewing cars? And what I realized, it was been about 15 years, I realized that cars, vehicles, are nothing but technology. Mm-hmm. Everything is technology. And it's certainly over the past 10 years. The safety, just the tech that keeps us, backing up with the beeps and, we don't use the rear view mirrors and the automatic, lane changing thing. That's not, we still have to drive. We still have to kind of control them, but it's phenomenal. We're seeing less wrecks. I mean, every time we back up, I remember, back in the day, we had to turn around and look over. My kids never turn around. They have cameras. They have the lane changing thing. We have the backup rear camera to go beep, beep, beep. If somebody, those help. And it does prevent a lot of accidents, a lot of, injuries, a lot of deaths too. Also saves us a lot of money from if we do get in, fender benders of getting the cars repaired too. I think cars have really auto manufacturers have done a really good job of initiating all their safety technology in them.
So have you seen, I haven't really looked at any stats. We only hear about the negative things about those self-driving cars. At least I do anyway, like the one that pulled in front of the active shooting deal or whatever, the guy on the ground. But are there stats that show like, hey, there's a lot less car accidents when these things are driving themselves versus a human driving them?
Listen, I mean, I know this also from being in the media. Any company can make up a stat that makes it look great. If you're trying to tell a story, you can have a stat here, stat there. So I don't want to quote any specific stats. Sure. I can tell you anecdotal things that, this technology has greatly helped me. I mean, I grew up in the era that if I wanted to go between here in Florida, I would go into a AAA store. AAA, you probably don't even know what AAA. AAA, it's the Automobile Association of America. I would have to get a map, a physical map you fold out, and I would plan my stops. Okay, I'm going to go to Houston, New Orleans, and I'm going to get a hotel like that. Nowadays, it is in the palm of our hand. Nowadays, you go to your GPS, and I love Google Maps. You can go to your Waze, whatever it is, and you get me from here to there, and we're going to look at it. I mean, how that tech and things develop, and it's we have what we have in our hands in that phone. It's more powerful than any computer that than we ever did growing up, and they're only going to get faster and better.
I love it. Let's shift gears a little bit. A lot of our listeners are members here at Elite MMA. They're into fitness and all that stuff. You mentioned wearables earlier. Do you monkey with any of the wearables? Or?
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm a longtime runner. In a marathon, I've run for about 30 years, 10 marathons, and I still run. So I always, monitor the heart and GPS, and it's neat. So I get I got more smart watches. I could walk on the New York street and go, "Hey, psst, buddy, you want to watch?" Actually, I did that. I was on my Fox Austin thing, and I was doing smartwatches. I literally had 6 on my left hand, 7 on my right hand. I looked like a pimp from Detroit or something. It was so funny. So smartwatches are really good because we need to continue to monitor ourselves. I do not like these stories about somebody in their 50s or 60s dropping dead of a heart attack or things because they don't go to the doctor. I'm not saying we have a doctor on our wrist, but we do have these immediate feedback where we can check our pulse things. And so, counting our steps and whatever, but the thing that I found out, when the Fitbits, that was one of the first ones that came out, and now, everything. Obviously, there's the Apple Watch. I'm an Android guy, so Samsung. I've got one from, it's not this one, but I've got a OnePlus. It goes on and on and on, but it's not so much you just have to look. Oh, how many steps did I go today? I went 10,000 steps today. I always tell people this. Again, this is my health, kind of fitness part of my brain. Good, congrats, you've walked 10,000 steps. What are you going to do with that information? Take the data and do something. Okay, so people say, 10,000 steps. I get to have a glass of wine. Don't look at it that way. I did 10,000 steps today, so I'm going to do 11,000 tomorrow. I'm going to do 12,000. You need to take the data, not make it just your, yay, congrats, coach. How can I improve it? I have one that monitors my sleep. What's my resting heart rate? Heart rate. I have a buddy in Chicago who's like me. We have a contest of how low we can get our BPM at night. That's what you need to do, is you got to use and understand what that data is giving you, because you're using it to improve yourself in one way, shape, or form. Use it and set another goal and continue to do it. So
what's your resting BPM per night?
Per night?
Yeah, roughly.
51.
That's pretty damn solid, man.
For my age, I think it's okay.
That's really good.
It's okay, yeah. So
that's really good, dude.
I'm proud,
That's awesome.
Imagine if I came to Elite more often, baby. Be down to 48. I won't ask yours because I know you're going to be good.
So I did the Whoop for a year, and I loved it, and I got everything I needed to get out of it. I could still monitor day to day, but I loved it. Like, sleep was the biggest thing I got out of it, and dialing in that sleep is probably the most important thing that we can do, that I see that most people don't have, especially when you're young and have kids and all that kind of stuff.
See, but you're using it correctly. You're getting the feedback.
Yeah.
I mean, you're monitoring it. And for some reason, you have a restless night, and now you're at 70 BPM over what's going on? Did I drink caffeine too late? And you're going to adjust your lifestyle. And so that's one of the wearables. And now I remember the heart rate monitors and whatever.
Yeah.
I've got even the fun stuff. A company just sent me a pair of sunglasses. They're big, I use them for running glasses or kind of ski goggles. Yes,
I saw those on your Instagram.
But they're Bluetooth. Yeah, they're Bluetooth. So now, so I don't need anything in my ears because the speakers are actually in the arms of the thing. But the lenses, with the swipe of the side of the lens, it changes the voltage in the lens, and it makes them darker or lighter. So now I never have to take them off. So if the sun comes out behind a cloud, I just swipe, and it makes the lenses darker. I never have to take them off.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Who
makes those? I haven't seen those yet.
It's called Camelo, Camelo, about $200, $225. And then we've got the Ray-Ban Meta, the Meta, and then we've got the other one. Then we've got AR ones that'll actually impose here's a map. I'm just looking through my glasses, and it's going to tell me to turn right or turn left.
No way.
All these, that's the wearable thing.
So do you think that's the direction cell phones are headed, like a wearable that you're just looking
to some extent? I mean, obviously, for the cell phones, the form factor of a cell phone is great because, listen, we're not going to be able to type out really anything on these glasses. Now, we could dictate to these glasses, too. But
sure.
We still, I can't edit a video on my glasses.
That's fair.
Yeah. And so we're always going to, I think, need some sort of a phone which has built-in, storage.
Do these glasses sync to your phone?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll run with my phone. I have a little running pouch or something, and I'll sing and I'm listening to my '80s music. But then a call comes in. I just touch the side of my glasses while I'm running, or I'm just and I never have to touch the phone itself. And that's the neat thing about Bluetooth. But nowadays, the screens on these phones are getting better, and so again, that's the whole wearable kind. The rings, the Aura rings, Samsung rings. I don't. To me, that's overkill. That's the same information you're getting from a watch, but
Right.
then you got to read it on your phone. Just let me just read it from my watch. But that's another idea of a wearable too.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool, man. So the health space in general, man. Even so, we had a friend of mine that started a longevity clinic on a couple weeks ago, and I mean, we were talking about sleep studies, and I mean, you can almost do a sleep study measuring a lot of those stats just from some of these wearables.
Right.
But it seems like I'm interested to see what your view is on this. People that are in the health and fitness space are going to more of the concierge type services rather than like going to the doctor and getting to go to another doctor and referral for this doctor and I got to put it on my insurance. But you could just go to these places and say, I want to do a cardiac stress test. I want to do a sleep study. I want to get some blood work done. And sort of with AI and like ChatGPT, I could say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm a 45-year-old male that does exercises. Like, what should I go get checked out this year? It'll say colonoscopy, do this.
No, they're popping. I actually did this about 3 months ago. It was on the northwest side of Houston. Some company. It's like a spa. When it's spa, but it's like a med spa. But they are very into measuring and monitoring your health, your body fat, and specific. They had the treadmill, and they put the the VO2. I mean, and I sat there for an hour and a half, and they tested me, and then they downloaded the app, and then they want me to come back every 6 months to improve it. But yeah, they're really kind of honing down to a specific versus the big general.
So you did the VO2 max?
Oh yeah.
Oh, what did you get out of doing that?
I'm going to not answer that because I forgot about what it is. I don't have what, but the great thing is, I mean, personally, it's they're monitoring it and they look at me, they're going, "You're a runner, aren't you?
You're good.
You're good. They go, you've done this before. You're a runner.
Yeah.
You're beating my starting BPM was started like 48 and maybe only went up to like 110 or something after this 30-minute run. Okay, you're a runner. You're good. But I want to check that, and we should check that. Right now, and if it's not good, then they're going to recommend, you should recommend go see your real doctor, a cardiologist or something. But I think I like the proliferation of these, new kind of concierge type of businesses.
Yeah, and it, combined with those wearables, I think you can have a pretty good bead on your health nowadays with a wearable, with the concierge, all that kind of stuff. And then even insurance, for a family of 3 or 4 people to go get private health insurance is what, $2,500, $3,000 a month, that sort of thing.
The reason I was a few minutes later, I was sitting in the car because I had to sign up for my insurance because
Yes.
it's coming up right now. It
nuts.
tripled this year
It's
for me,
nuts.
and it's just me. It's not even my kids. It tripled this year, and it said, and then I had to ask. They asked me 100 questions. It was like life insurance. Have you ever smoked? I mean, they're getting very, very cautious. Thing. It's just a sad situation of what we have to go through.
Have
right
you
now.
seen these like MetaShare, these shared plans? You know what I'm talking about? I might drop some knowledge on you here. So
Yeah, tell me.
So there was one. Some of them are faith based. Some of them are just like you agree to not drink and drive and do certain things like that might cause. Anyway, they're cheap. So for like my family of 4, I think it's like $400 or $500 a month compared to the $2,500 a month.
Really?
But yeah, my wife, like we had a baby on it and like everybody's always worried they won't pay for stuff. But anyway, it's sort of like this, it's not true health insurance. It's more like shared, like you just pay
I
this
am
thing.
kind of familiar with this.
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about?
So it's like it's almost a promise. I promise not to smoke. I promise not to.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
And your fingers are crossed
kind of,
while you're saying yeah.
you kind of pay your dues,
Yeah.
and then it covers you. It kind of sounds like a Ponzi scheme kind of.
I don't know if it's a Ponzi. It sounds like some sort of a scheme, but,
Pyramid thing, but
God forbid you do need a doctor. I hope they actually will.
Yeah,
they will
I've
cover
been doing
it
it for like 10 years and it's been good. So,
Okay, I
yeah.
may need to check that.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, if you're young and healthy, if you took that $2,500 a month and threw it into a health savings account, and then if you did have a big issue 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you got enough cash in there to cover. I don't know. I don't even know if you could put that much money in a health savings account. But point being, the insurance space is wild and crazy, and I'm interested to see what happens there because this and how tech is going to change the medical space as well. Even from doctors now. When you go to the hospital, I just heard a story. We had a guy named Dr. Paul Osteen, Joel Osteen, their church. His brother runs this big medical mission conference every year here in Houston, and they do stuff in hospitals all over the world. And one of the things he talked about was he had his IT guys from their church go into a hospital in Africa and get their IT system all synced up. So now the doctor can come in, check on his patient, pull up his phone, look at the x-rays on his phone or the MRI or whatever, like immediately, rather than like, we'll have your report back tomorrow, So just like tech in the medical space it seems like, from my view, is going to help get things better and more efficient, which hopefully will lead to a lower cost. We'll see.
Well, we'll see exactly. Yeah. But I think on that same note, look at these smartwatches right now, and so I think doctors, and it's starting to happen, but we're going to see these apps connect to doctors, and so they're going to give you in real time. Doctors can get reports. Instead of me, going in, making an appointment and getting my blood pressure checked, they're going to be able to read it from my watch, send it to them, and and assess me from right there. Same thing with the insurance companies too. I got to get I'm waiting for a call later this afternoon from this insurance company to ask me the 100 questions, and I'm going to tell them, listen, I'm 6 foot tall and my BPM is 51. Well, how do they know they're not going to lie? At some point, I can say, let me give you the data from the past week from my watch, actually. And so, yeah, it can be some beneficial and time saving too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk Houston for a little bit. We got World Cup coming up.
World Cup.
We got
the world is coming to Texas also. They're in Dallas too.
But, they're in Dallas and Houston. Mm-hmm. And what do you think that's going to be like? Is that going to be fun?
I think it's going to be fun. Again, it's the city of Houston. They're obviously, these host cities, they're trying to make this big a deal as ever. But again, it's not happening to July, and now it's December where they just now announce, and there's all these official parties or whatever. I think when it gets here, the world, there's going to be a ton of attendance. Here it's going to be played at not NRG Stadium. It's going to be played at Houston Stadium. I don't know if you know that little secret. The FIFA, which owns the World Cup, they are very, very, very tight. They're very conscious of sponsors. In the stadiums, they're playing at Houston MetLife Stadium. They're playing at SoFi Stadium. They're playing at AT&T Stadium. They are not allowed to actually use those names. And so they will be playing at Houston Stadium, Dallas Stadium, New York Stadium.
Okay, wait.
Yes.
But what stadium are they playing in?
They're playing in NRG. But when you look on TV, NRG will not be named. It will be Houston Stadium to the world.
That's wild.
That's not. It's welcome to FIFA. This is the big money.
Because FIFA has that much power.
FIFA has that much power. They're going to be playing into that, but they will not have. And so, if Jerry World, AT&T Stadium, they got some big matches up there. It's Dallas Stadium, which is even funny because it's not even in Dallas. It's in the city of Arlington. But that's one of the things. And so, getting back to your point, I mean, it's going to be 80,000 people from, I don't know, I forget who the draw was. It's coming to Houston, but Mexico and Germany. There's going to be a lot of worldwide visitors. So I think the Convention and Visitors Bureaus in each of these cities, the hotels, the restaurants, I think they're going to benefit too. Traffic and let's just hope that football fans, they can get rowdy.
Yeah,
these matches can get rowdy, and so let's just hope the police departments and the securities that they're tight also.
So how long will it last? How many games are there? Do you know?
I think, let's see, how many? I think 8 to 10 teams are coming to each city. So I think there's about 8 teams coming. There'll be 8 to 10 matches from July. I think it's about a 2 to 3 week period in July of August of next year.
Did they announce who's going where yet?
Yeah, they've announced it. Yeah, nope. They just announced who's going where.
Do you know if we've got any big ones in either one?
Believe it or not, and again, I'm not into this, but just anecdotally, because Dallas, I believe, has a better draw than Houston in terms of the international cities, the countries that are participating.
It's Dallas still guys, man.
Remember, I'm from Dallas.
I
am Dallas boy. I'm born and raised in Dallas. A lot of my listeners are in Dallas too, and so I've been in Houston 30 years. But you've heard me mention Dallas. Never forget Dallas. That's I'm a Dallas boy at my heart. But no, but here in Houston, it's going to be big. The tickets are not going to be cheap. It's not going to be. They're comparing it to Super Bowl because there's nothing else to compare it to. And Houston has hosted 3 Super Bowls in the course of 60 years, which really go nuts for about 4 or 5 days the week before. But World Cup is going to be here for several weeks, and there's going to be a lot of the downtown will be shut down and the ancillary events and things. So it should be fun.
Airbnb my house and just come sleep up at the gym.
It should be fun. I mean, this gym is. I tell you what, and I'm serious. There's going to be a lot of parties and events.
Yeah.
Athletes, you should rent your place out to one of these big countries, and so you actually let's see if we can make you a profit.
Set up. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. And if anybody out there who's listening, they need an event host or an MC. I am your guy.
No, you're going to be busy, man.
High-Tech-Texan.com, because I did a lot of those for Super Bowl.
Your website's cool, by the way. I was clicking around on that. You got it set up really well.
Well, it's funny. I concentrate more on my social media than I do my website. That's been another shift.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because I do all my TV stuff. I put it to YouTube, then I link the YouTube to my website because people still go to high-tech-texan.com and the whole thing. But now it's the immediacy of Instagram. What am I ever putting in stuff? And so I'm using that more than website. Websites may be I'm not going to say they're the thing of the past like newspapers, but one day soon, we're relying less on websites than we are on social.
Have you heard like the AI crawler for ChatGPT, all that kind of stuff? As far as them getting their info, is it from websites? Is it from social? Is it all the above?
Everything. They scour the web, and just like that's how Google did. Google just scoured the web to make it the number one, the greatest search engine ever. And if I ask something on ChatGPT or an AI thing, it actually starts prompting me. It's thinking, hold on, let me research that. And it comes back in about 6 to 8 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's literally telling me that it's scouring the web for the answer. And then what it does, it spits out the answer in a more conversational, that spells it out versus just linking to new things. And that's what the AI stuff does. Yeah.
Well, I love it. Well, I know we don't have you here much longer. Anything else you got cooking? Any other cool products you've been messing with? Any of your sponsors you want to mention or anything?
I love mentioning my sponsor. Actually, one is right across the street, U.S. Coins and Jewelry. You know those guys over there?
I've got some mutual friends with them. I don't know them that well, though.
It's funny because they've got, first of all, I'm going to give you some love over here, Frost. I mean, listen, I've known you for several years, and now you've got, 6 locations, I think you said? And now you're expanding into my territory of podcasts. Your setup here is phenomenal. You've got what we call a dead room in terms of the sound, which is what you want. You've got a lot of carpet. And you got you're a phenomenal host. I mean, you've got the BS of what's going on, and so you're expanding. The guys over at U.S. Coins and Jewelry, and we're seeing this. People are creating their own podcast. They also have a studio similar to this, and they actually. They bring in watchmakers and jewelry makers, and they'll do a one-on-one.
Yeah.
They'll actually sit in their studio, and they will go live on eBay with auctions. They'll sell, because they sell jewelry, but also they sell sports cards and trading. They'll utilize it to use it in technology, and they're building that business, not so much as people walking in, I want to buy a Rolex. They're actually using it as eBay. And so that's the neat thing that I see businesses, small business.
Yeah. I did like a train and chat. Like you bring somebody in, run them through a workout, record some of it, talk about it, and then bring them in and talk afterwards. You kind of call it Matt Chats with Coach Frost or something like that.
See, you're a marketing guy too. Shtick. I like, but it's the man on the street. I mean, it's the endorsement of somebody who's been through your class.
Yeah.
And follow them through. And there's nothing better than that personal endorsement because I've used something, I've tried something, and that's kind of what I do. I try and use almost everything I can, and then I give my opinion.
One thing that's cool about this space is, there's a lot of people that do a lot of cool stuff in this city that are not on social media or, of the, like you said, kind of those elder Gen X's and, that don't really have an Instagram account or something like that, but they've got cool stories to tell and they come through our doors all the time. And so this has been a cool area for us to go, hey, you that aren't on social media, come in here. You got a cool story to tell. Let's get that out there. We can help you with that.
And that's what these, now, I mean, anybody and everybody can be a podcaster. And again, I've done it so long to radio. My job is to ask questions because I'm just as inquisitive as anybody else.
Yeah.
And I never, really, tell people that I am the expert. My job is to know a little about a lot. I mean, my knowledge may not be deep a lot of categories, but you fired a question about what's going on with Netflix and things. So I have to keep my pulse on everything, but bringing the experts in, I love asking these questions. I've always, for 20 plus years, I've had an opportunity with a microphone and or a TV camera of doing these, interviews. Now these podcasts, the experts want to come on and talk to you. And so now you have the opportunity to ask these questions, too, and because it's stories and that's what content is. And, you could break me down. As I say, I'm a marketer, I'm a networker, but also I'm a storyteller too. Cause it's, I love telling the stories of, how you asked me how I got into the industry, how to build your brand. I mean, I built this High-Tech Texan brand before social media. I had to do it the old school way. I knocked on doors and printed business cards and I was, whatever. And then, I remember the first, the TV, it compare, the 15,000, I told you the story. It was a $15,000 TV versus 179. How do we get, from that point to this point? My job is just to sit there and, yes, it's content, but just, tell these stories. And you have to be of age to tell, I love my kids, but, how many stories does my 25-year-old kid have versus, I'm 2.5, years his age. And so it's as we get older, remember things. It's, kids, don't do drugs. Make sure your mind is clear. Drink caffeine and remember stories because at some point you're going to need content. Yeah, there's your takeaway from the Garf.
I love it. Garf. Okay, so to wrap up, UT football.
Oh, yeah.
We got the college playoff coming down the pipe.
CFP's coming down the pipe.
What do you think is going to happen here?
This college football got a black eye this year with the past 3 days.
How come?
The CFP. There was a committee. They're getting reamed for the rankings, it's only 12 teams. It was supposed to be great. I remember back in the days, the BCS, a computer would spit out the number 1 and number 2 team and back in the day.
Remember that time like Florida and Florida State played and one of them beat the other one and they were still number 1?
Yeah, but now they went to the teams. So it's very subjective versus objective. And you know what? And they're going to expand it to 16 teams potentially next year. Then they'll go to 24. I mean, they need a March Madness type of thing. March Madness is great because there's been 68 teams right now. I mean, and there's no conference alignment. I mean, the top 5 teams in basketball generally come from, the Big 12 is great, the ACC is also great. But now, this college football playoff, we've got to have one from the Big 12, at least one from the SEC, and that may not be fair. They may not have the best teams. Listen, love to Tulane, love to James Madison. You're going to love this analogy, and this is so true because I am in this media space. I love college football. I love football. I love sports. We watch it. It is the number 1 driver of advertising, TV revenue, the deals. Everybody wants a piece of the NFL. But the college football, at the end of the day, we all break down the X's and O's and what's happening. Is Arch Manning doing this or what's happening with the Aggies and this? Never forget this. It is, quite simply, a TV show.
Totally.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
Disney/ESPN owns every single one of the college football bowl games, all the way down to the national championship. It's advertising and it's the revenue. They want eyeballs and they want ratings. And if you look at the ratings, there are brands. And it was a great article in this wonderful website called Awful Announcing. I love it. It's a sports website. But the eyeballs come from brands. And these brands, quite simply, you could probably count them on one hand. It is Texas. It is Georgia. It is Alabama. It is Notre Dame. And it is those big boys. They have the most ratings. And so this college football playoff committee, I'm surprised there wasn't more directive from Disney and ESPN. Get those brands in there. And again, who's going to watch Tulane, really? They don't have a big alumni association or James Madison. It's cool that they got in. I'm not lobbying for Texas. Texas does not deserve to be in this top thing. That Florida loss, which was early season. No, I'm not. But good for the Aggies. I cannot stand. My job is to hate the Aggies all my life. Aggies have never amounted. I can rag on the Aggies right now, but in my lifetime, and it's been a long lifetime right now, Aggies have never done anything, and Aggies even rag on themselves. Good for them. I actually hope they win the college football playoff. They deserve something to make them happy, to make their life.
Yeah.
So I'm not ragging on, but I think the whole system is jacked up, and they just, it's more about money, and I think just
totally
they need to make it more fair to have everybody, playing the thing. Kind of like
what do you think about the players getting paid?
It was inevitable. I think, started with the NIL, and now it's legally that the colleges can actually, pay them too. I think it's only fair. We're used to, again, old school guy. It's like, well, they got a free college tuition, so that was their compensation. But they're making multi hundreds of millions of dollars of TV that is happening right now, and that's because of the players that of the Arch Mannings, and now we got the Fernando and the Mendozans and the Heisman's coming up. Yeah, so let them get paid. I'm fine.
I think about like some of the popular like UT and A&M quarterbacks from the '90s. I didn't follow those guys in their professional lives after that, but the ones that like were really popular but didn't make it to the professional level,
because this is the only shot. I mean,
this is their shot.
The small percentage
money.
of people who actually make it to the NFL. I mean, listening to we'll go back to the the quarterbacks that I grew up with. We love the Major Applewhites, the Colt McCoys of the UT. Even Vince Young, he did play a stint in the NFL. Wasn't but
right.
We still remember Vince Young from college days, and they never were able to capitalize on their money.
Yes.
Back then, and I kind of feel I know they're pissed about it, but sorry, you're just born in a different era.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do like that course correction. I'm kind of pro the players on that deal. So hopefully that'll continue to trend well.
And if they don't pay them, pay people in the media. Hi, I'm looking for sponsors. And I want you to join Elite MMA because you need to be a lean, mean fight machine.
That's it.
Like you, brother.
Do you do some stuff with UT, like go to the games and
I have season tickets. I go to UT, and my youngest son lives in Austin. Plus, I do a TV thing in Austin. I'm in Austin easily 2 times a month, especially during football season.
Have you ever been to that MJM event? You know what I'm talking about? The Matthew McConaughey, Jack Ingram, Mac Brown.
I've never been to that.
Put on that fundraiser.
No, I didn't do that.
Dude, that is turned into a really cool thing. They raise a ton of money every year. I'm a part of one of the nonprofits. It's a beneficiary of that, and man, they are doing some really good with that. All their friends used to hit them up for charity stuff,
right?
And so they say, you know what? We're just going to throw a week-long party. We're going to have a golf tournament, a gala, this or that or the other. everybody come in town for the week. Let's do it. I think you'd probably have fun at that.
I would, and
You should MC that deal, now that I think about it.
exactly. If Matthew doesn't want to because he's got no BS, he's shy in front of the camera, right? Yeah. But I love the fandom. I love the superstars. I mean, it's so funny. You got Matthew McConaughey. Now you got Glenn Powell.
Yeah,
Austin
right.
Boston, huge Longhorn fans.
Yeah.
And they bleed orange in this one case. And everybody's got, Will Ferrell, massive USC fan. I love it because it makes these guys superstars, actors, and actors real. I mean, they're living and breathing and dying just like we are. Maybe it's the point spread, or maybe who's going to win, or did we make the college football playoffs? But I think it's fun with Matthew and Mac Brown, obviously, who unceremoniously was escorted out of the building, years ago as coach to the thing. Still a big UT, comes back, and so and again, I use that just because that's I'm so used to it. But every school has got their the benefactors and their cheerleaders. And I just, think it's great because it's one thing that's united. I think it's more fun than politics because, we can fight it out on the field versus, who actually won politics. Was it rigged, the politics? Was it fake voters? I don't want to get into that stuff. That's why sports is the ultimate reality show. Even reality shows are scripted. It's
true.
really tough to script sports,
Yeah,
even though you think
authentic.
it's done.
You can't really fake
it's
it.
live. And it is. And, maybe the refs can kind of, reconfigure this over there, but it's.
You could shave a few points here or there, but
but
most of the time,
you
it's
never know
pretty
what's going to
authentic.
happen. It's fun. That's why I love sports so much, yeah.
Authenticity, and that's the name of your brand as well. Michael Garfield here with us at the top of the hour, about to wrap this up. Anything else you want to?
No, I appreciate it. And again, I'm going to give you some love of there. I never thought, I see you usually on the mat and when you used to train me a bit, and now you're behind the microphone doing my stuff, and you're doing very well. I mean,
Thank you, man. That
It
means
is
a lot
not
coming from you.
easy to do this. People don't like being behind the microphone, and this is nothing. I don't think you study, but man, you got it. It's very entertaining what you're doing. So congrats on everything you've done.
Thank you, my man. So people can check out your Instagram, punch in Michael Garfield, it'll pop up. And
Or High-Tech,
Texan.com.
everything is HIGHTECHTEXAN. I worked hard to build that brand. It's trademarked, by the way, but I grabbed it for X, Twitter. I got it for Instagram. I got it for the website, and you can find all the stuff
And
on
if
there.
people want to listen to your show, is it like Spotify, iHeartRadio, or?
It's I'm on iHeart, but the podcast, if you want to listen to it on repeat ever, you can go to Spotify. Certainly iHeartRadio. At that point, you put in Michael Garfield and you'll see it. Listen to every single episode.
Is it on
that's out
YouTube as
there.
well, or y'all just do
My
this?
YouTube, I have a YouTube channel. You can look
Yeah.
at Michael Garfield, and that's a lot of my TV stuff because
Oh,
I'll
cool.
do these 3 or 4 minute segments of reviews of TVs. I'm on here in Houston. It's on Great Day Houston on
Yeah, I
Channel
see you
11,
did it
and on
a lot.
Fox up in Austin, some Dallas stuff. And so that's where I'm taking a lot of products. And then in about 3 weeks, my Christmas actually is the first week of January. I will be in Vegas for the Consumer Electronics Show. That is the world's largest trade show. And this will be my 23rd year. It's CES is what it's called right now. And that is where every company who's a player in the world of some sort of, technology or entertainment, they will show off the hot new products, everything from the wearables to the glasses to the TVs. And so I'll spend 5 days out there taping some TV stuff. I have my radio show and bringing back a lot of the cool products that we probably don't need that they're trying to tell us that we do need. And so
Well,
that's
thanks
fun,
for going there and scouting it all out.
That's my
for
job.
us.
I have to
You
do
come
it
back
so
and-
you don't have to.
I love it.
That's how we do it, Frost.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
You nailed it, man. Thank you.
Can I guys just look at each other unless I can get a
Cut away.
Yeah.
She knows what's up. We got to nod and laugh.
I
Yeah.
gotta-
Yeah. B-roll. Cut away.
All right.
I remember you pinned me to the mat, you son of a bitch. Oh my God. Yeah. I need to get more. Yeah.
That's how I'm gonna end it on that.
Yeah.